What is the L1A visa and how do you get one? The L1A visa is for international companies that want to transfer their executives or managers to their U.S. operation. That also can include setting up the U.S. operation. So what are the requirements? First, there must be a nexus between the two companies. The nexus must either be a relationship that is either a subsidiary, parent relationship, meaning that one company owns control of another company, or an affiliate, whereas these two different companies are owned by the same people, individuals, or entities in the same interests of both companies. What that means is if you have 3 investors in the United States, you must have the same 3 investors in the foreign country, and those investors must have substantially or almost exactly the same ownership interest. The second criteria is whether or not the individual was either a manager or an executive. An executive are like the C-suite levels. The CEO, Chief Executive Officer, Chief Operating Officer, Chief Marketing Officer, Chief Technical Officer, those types of jobs, or President, Vice President, those are others. Some foreign countries call them managing directors. These are the top people that operate the entirety of companies, right? But the companies have to be large enough. To be a company large enough to have an executive and a manager and a workforce is really no smaller than 5 people. It means there has to be one executive who's overseeing about 3 individuals. Anything less than that will not be respected by immigration, and that number of employees and in those stratuses have to exist on both the American company and the overseas company before you apply. Some will argue you can apply before that, but we've seen immigration very hesitant to approve those visas. If they do approve those visas, it's usually for 1 year, and they're very, very hard. One of the arguments they'll make is how can you be an executive or manager if you have nobody to be an executive or manager over? For the manager criteria, there's 2 types. There is the manager of people. This is where you'd show an organizational chart where the manager oversees a number of people. At least one of those people should be managerial in their own right. The other type of manager is called a functional manager. A function or an area of a company can have no people underneath the manager, but the manager must have significant managerial duties, such as they must be overseeing a budget. They must be on a dotted line equal with other managers. For example, you could be a manager of R&D, develop a product, you then give to the manager of marketing or the manager of sales or manager of operations to market it, sell it, or build it. Some of the things to look out for in the L1A is whether or not, as an executive, you have 100% interest in the company. If you are the 100% interest holder, you may not be able to obtain the L visa because you're not considered an employee. Employee must be able to be fired. One of the things that you can do if you don't have it in place before you apply for your L1A visa is to establish a board of directors. You can be the 100% equity holder, but other people can fire you from your job if they outvote you on your board. So you might want to make sure that you have some trustworthy board members. You can also be fired by an investor. So if an investor invests a lot of money and there are clauses in the agreement to invest in your company that allows them to terminate you if certain things are not met, then that would meet the requirement of an employee under the U.S. Supreme Court Darden case. For more information, go to onlinevisas.com and set up a free strategy session. I'm John Veely, CEO of Online Visas, the intelligent immigration platform where we deliver dreams.